In the year 2000, Netflix offered to sell their entire company to Blockbuster for just $50 million. Blockbuster executives laughed at this idea. DVDs by mail, no late fees, no stores. It sounded ridiculous, but just 10 years later, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy.
Blockbuster has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
And Netflix became one of the most powerful entertainment companies on the planet. So how did the king of movie rentals lose everything? And how did a small startup company beat a store that once had 9,000 stores worldwide? Salutations, good people. I'm Josh, and this is Behind the Culture. To understand what went wrong, we have to first understand just how big Blockbuster really was. Blockbuster was founded in 1985 by a man named David Cook. At the time, video stores already existed, but they were usually small, cluttered, and very poorly organized. Cook saw an opportunity to turn video rentals into something much bigger. Instead of small mom and pop stores, Blockbusters were clean, they were bright, they were vibrant, and packed with thousands of movies. Walking into Blockbuster felt like walking into a movie paradise. New releases were displayed across entire walls. Rows of blue and yellow cases filled up the entire store. And on Friday nights, families would line up to rent movies for the entire weekend, my family included. For many people growing up in the 90s, Blockbuster was a ritual, and there was no shortage of Blockbuster commercials just in case Blockbuster wasn't at the forefront of your mind.
Hey, Ray, look at this. Wall-to-wall entertainment.
You want entertainment, Carl? I'll give you entertainment. Oh. Look, Carl, I'm a maniac! Maniac!
And no, we cannot forget about video games, so you can imagine the appeal to kids, and an entire section of kids' movies.
Tough day, huh, kiddo?
We're doing fractions and math. And Gracie Gibson kissed me on the playground in front of everybody.
When your day needs a little turnaround, Blockbuster has 9,000 ways to make it a Blockbuster night.
And this is a great lesson why you have to get permission before you kiss a boy. By the early 2000s, Blockbuster had exploded in popularity. At its peak, the company operated over 9,000 stores worldwide, serving 65 million customers. Blockbuster wasn't just a rental store anymore. It was a cultural icon. But hidden behind this success was a business model that customers absolutely hated.
No more late fees! No more late fees!
Late fees. Late fees were the backbone of Blockbuster's business. If you rented a movie and forgot to return it, or just couldn't make it on time, those charges started to pile up pretty quick. I would be fascinated to know in the comments what your biggest late fee was if you ever suffered a dreaded week-long late fee or maybe even more. Late fees accounted for a lot of Blockbuster's total revenue, which would come out to be hundreds of millions of dollars every year. From Blockbuster's perspective, late fees were incredibly profitable, but from the customer's perspective, they were incredibly frustrating. Returning movies became a very stressful race against the clock. People were trying to leave work early, maybe 10, 15 minutes, just to make sure they could make it by Blockbuster to drop their movies off. They would do this to make it in just before closing time to avoid more late fees. And that frustration created an opening for another company to come in and completely disrupt the industry. Enter Netflix. In 1997, two entrepreneurs named Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph launched a small startup called Netflix. Instead of renting movies in stores, Netflix would mail DVDs to customers' front doors. Customers would go online, choose the movies they wanted, and Netflix would ship them straight to their house. Once they finished watching, they would send the disc back in a prepaid envelope. Then, Netflix introduced something that felt revolutionary: a subscription model. For a flat monthly fee, customers could rent movies without worrying about late fees. They could keep the DVDs as long as they wanted. No stress, no penalties, no rushing to the store before closing. Compared to Blockbuster, Netflix felt like a breath of fresh air. But at the time, Netflix was still tiny, and Blockbuster wasn't worried at all. Then came the meeting. In the year 2000, Netflix founders Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph traveled to Blockbuster's headquarters in Dallas. They had quite the proposal. Netflix would handle Blockbuster's online business, while Blockbuster would promote Netflix inside of its stores. In exchange, Netflix wanted Blockbuster to buy the company. The price? Just a cool $50 million. Today, that number sounds quite unbelievable, but at the time, Netflix was still struggling to grow. Blockbuster executives looked at the proposal and just laughed. They didn't believe that people wanted DVDs mailed to their homes, despite that model already working for Netflix. And they definitely didn't believe that the internet would replace physical stores and that experience that came along with it. And it's interesting talking about this in 2026 because if you just look online for a little bit of time, you see that people really missed that experience. So Blockbuster passed on the deal and Netflix just walked away. Over the next few years, Netflix continued to refine its subscription model, and customers loved the convenience. No late fees, no driving to the stores, no disappointment when a new movie was sold out. Meanwhile, Blockbuster had started to notice something troubling. Customers were leaving. By the early 2000s, Netflix was growing subscribers rapidly. And it was around this time that Blockbuster finally realized the threat, and they tried to respond. In 2004, Blockbuster launched its own DVD by mail service, but there was a big problem. Blockbuster was still late fee dependent. Eliminating them would cost the company millions of dollars a year. So Blockbuster found itself trapped in between two business models. Then came the real game changer. In 2007, Netflix introduced streaming. Instead of waiting for DVDs to arrive by mail and then having to turn around and ship them back, customers could instantly watch movies and TV online. No stores, no shipping, just click and watch. Blockbuster, meanwhile, was drowning in debt and spending tons of money on very expensive retail stores. That's thousands of retail locations. Each store required rent, employees, utilities, and of course the inventory. The entire company was built around physical locations, and by 2010, Blockbuster could no longer survive. The company filed for bankruptcy and thousands of stores closed worldwide. Today, only one Blockbuster remains, and that location is in Bend, Oregon. A nostalgic reminder of an era that disappeared almost overnight. And as of today, Netflix has a market cap of $402 billion. And if you want to buy just one share of Netflix, it's going to cost you about $95. Blockbuster didn't fail because people stopped loving and watching movies. Blockbuster failed because they simply couldn't abandon the model that made them popular and successful in the first place. While Netflix embraced change, Blockbuster tried to protect the past. And in the end, the company that once ruled the entire industry became one of the most famous business failures of all time. But can we really call it a failure if it lasted for so long in the capacity in which it did? Feel free to share in the comments your Blockbuster nostalgia stories. Until next time, I've been Josh, reminding you to work hard, be kind, and do enjoy yourselves.